Yo, it's your boy Mike with another 44 recording podcast, solo pod today. Had some ideas for today's pod, one of which is I've mentioned a bunch of times on the channel, which is called SMART Goals. And this is basically a rubric for which you can set up uh, achievable results for goal-oriented projects that you have, whether they're creative projects, personal projects, etc. Um, Basically, SMART goals. SMART is an acronym, and the reason why it took me a very long time to come across this acronym and this idea of thinking about your goals, thinking about my goals, and I would just like to be able to save somebody else the heartache and trouble that I went through never having these type of SMART goals. And we'll get into the acronym in a second. Um, but basically, a little story about me is that I always wanted to be in a really good band, and I always wanted to be in a band that was touring and doing a lot of stuff and a known band, I guess, like as known as you can be in today's world. And I just always figured and had this feeling that that was something I was going to achieve, something I wanted to do. Um, and it was basically I put in the forefront of my life for a long time, whether that was healthy or unhealthy. Probably mostly unhealthy, looking back on it. But I don't know. I did do a lot of cool stuff. Got a lot of cool stuff done. Um, I think I achieved a lot, even though I didn't really have any sort of any sort of goals or goalposts in mind. I just kind of had this goal that I mentioned of being in a great band, being in a great indie rock band, but never having any steps to actually achieve that goal. So it was always just okay, I'm going to go out and do these things and I'm going to achieve my goal. It's like that's just really not how it works. Like you can't just expect to play shows and go on tours and do all this stuff and suddenly you're going to be a known band because you kind of have to first of all define your terms as to like, well, what does that even mean, be a known band? Do you want there to be 100 people at your shows? Do you want there to be 10 people at your shows? Do you want there to be a million people at your shows? Like this is all stuff that you really have to determine what it is you actually want. Like, do you want to be the next U2 level band, or do you just want to be like a Sebado level band? Like, those are the kind of things that I think you really need to set out for yourself when thinking about your band and thinking about your goals as a musician. So that's always something I was really bad at. And like I said, I used to start out well, I just really wanted to be in a band because it was a lot of fucking fun, I guess. That was really the impetus for me to always play music, and it was kind of the thing that I got into with my group of friends, and my group of friends got me into, and also the kind of thing that I really latched onto as a big part of my identity as a youth because, just never feeling like I fit in with people who are really into sports or really into cars or I don't know, just like business shit, like making a ton of money. It's like certain values in the world. A lot of the values that people have in the world are just things that I have no interest in, or at least in Western culture, I should say. So I don't know. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, so I mean that was always a strange divide for me to bridge, and I did that using music and music culture and people that were into music and fellow music nerds and record collectors, CD collectors, etc. And then being in bands and playing shows, like that's how I related to people when I moved somewhere or went to college or moved to a new town or something. That was always like the big thing for me was, well, what's the music scene like? Where are the people? What are the bands like? What is this like? What are the venues like? And I don't know. I spent some time in New York in the city, pursuing music and being in a band, and that was a lot of fun. And I guess that was probably the closest I came to like achieving the things I wanted to achieve. And I think we achieved a lot in the band I was in. The band was called Electricians, and we did a lot. We were playing a lot of shows down there and doing the New York City thing around like 2009, 2010, I think. I want to say somewhere in that area, 2008 maybe, and 2010, 2012. Um, so a good stretch of time I spent, doing that down there. And it just became clear that whatever we were doing or the type of music that we were making, um, it just wasn't gonna really go anywhere. I guess. I mean, I feel like that's a really negative outlook. Not that everything has to go somewhere, but I guess it's just either it was the scene or the type of music we were making or whatever. Not, just music being essentially devalued. And of course, everybody thinks their band is amazing. And I don't know, maybe we weren't that great. Who knows? But it was a lot of fun. But I guess what I was trying to say is, we always had these goals of like being in a band that was known, but we never set up any sort of rubric to like achieve those goals. And you can just like have fun and go play shows when you can and do things that you want to do. But when it comes to setting goals for the projects that you have creatively, this rubric of SMART goals I think is really helpful. And so it's an acronym. So each letter is a specific word that corresponds to a specific type of action that you should take for your goals. So SMART goals. Specific is S, measurable M, achievable A, relevant, and time bound. So if you have this like esoteric goal of wanting to be the next U2, and you're starting from somebody just like sitting in your bedroom, uh, the idea is that yeah, like that's a cool goal. Like, if that's what you want to do, like more power to you. But if you don't set up some sort of roadmap for yourself or specific goals in mind to get to that level or that spot, you will never achieve that goal. Um, because you have this super, uh, it's a very vague goal in mind. I want to be the next U2. Like, okay, who knows if that's even possible in today's music landscape, or if anybody is even into, as into those type of bands anymore. It seems like classic rock is alive and well, but in terms of a new band with that sound, I don't know. Like the main sound today is there's a lot of hip hop acts. That's kind of where rock music has gone. That's what's popular today. I don't know if a band like U2 would even be able to. I mean, it's kind of a moot point. That's just like music history, right? But um, anyway, if that's your goal, you need to set up some sort of specific goal-oriented things in mind. So, in order to achieve that goal, are you going to play a show a week? Are you going to play 4 shows a month? Are you going to play shows outside of your city? Are you going to have some sort of social media presence? And what are you going to do with that presence? Are you going to make videos once a week? Are you going to tweet 3 times a day? Are you going to have behind the scenes of you guys recording? Like, there's so many things to think about and so many things that go into building a band. And essentially, what you're building is a brand or a business. That's really how a lot of the bigger bands look at it. Me and Jay were talking about this on the live stream, I think this past Wednesday, how a lot of bands are set up to be essentially corporations. But that's another thing down the line. But that's a whole other case. Are you going to have a music lawyer in your corner? Are you going to have a PR person? Are you going to try to find a label? Are you going to do this yourself? Like, there's such a multitude of questions, and you can see why this is merely scratching the surface, and also you can see why having this goal of being the next U2. I don't know why I'm bringing up U2, but um, I guess because putting your music on everybody's iPhone like last or a few years ago is still stuck in my mind to be this like crazy thing that they did. Um, on everybody's Apple iPhone, there was the U2 and Tim Cook had set it up so that, well, obviously there's a lot of other people that set it up too, but basically every person who got the new iOS got, basically a U2 album on their phone that they didn't ask for or didn't want, and it was like this. There was like a big backlash with it and everything. So I don't know. Anyway, if you want to get to a point where your album will be shoehorned onto people's iPhones, if that's your goal, yeah. So as you can see, there's so many things you need to think about, and so many ways that you can measure. And this is just the first part of this whole thing. You got to get specific about what it is you're going to do to achieve that goal, especially a goal that large. And another way is to break it down into smaller goals. So moving on to measurable. So those are things like I mentioned. If you play a show once a week, if you want to play a show every week, if you want to have 3 videos a week, if you want to do a couple tweets here and there, those are all things that you can make a checklist for, that you can measure So you have very specific ideas, like we're going to do a channel and have videos come out. We're going to have tweets and this come out. We're going to put our stuff on Spotify. We're going to put an album out every month, every year, whatever. As long as you set the goals that are measurable, meaning like, okay, well, I can put out an album a month. We can tweet. Somebody can tweet a few times a day. Somebody can make a couple videos about our process. Like, those are all very specific and measurable things to do to achieve that goal. And you can say whether you achieve them or not. Within the bigger goal, you can say, well, we tweeted 3 times a day and we put out a video and we played a show every day or every month or once a week. Did you do those things to achieve your goal? Yes or no? It's a very, very clear whether or not those things are working or not. Within that same idea, achievable, of SMART would be, is it something you can even achieve? Like, all those things I mentioned are pretty simple to do. They take a little bit of time, but you can achieve them. It's not hard to book a few shows within 100 miles of your house or your city or whatever. It's not hard. Like, anybody can open a Twitter and tweet. Anybody can open a YouTube channel and make videos. Anybody can start a podcast and talk about random shit like this. Like, those are all achievable things that just cost you time and and you can do them with relative ease. Really just comes down to, along the same lines, the reverse side of that is if your goal is to have a PR company that costs $3,000 a month to push your music, that may not be achievable for you given your income, if that's what part of your goal is. So obviously it's kind of simple and a simple idea, but yeah, if you're not setting up things that are achievable to you, if you want to go tour Brazil but you can't afford to go there, there's no reason for you to go there. How is that? Obviously you can't achieve that. Which brings up to the next point, R, being relevant. Maybe touring Brazil isn't relevant at all to what you're trying to do. Maybe it doesn't make any sense. Or maybe once you have your social media account set up, you realize you have thousands of people that are interested in what you're doing in Brazil, and then it is relevant to what you do. So basically, there needs to be some relevancy to the actions that you're taking. If your goal is to be the biggest band and you're going to New York and playing hip hop open mic, but you guys sound like U2, or you people, girls, whatever, sound like U2, then that's not really a relevant thing for you to do. Like, go play a hip hop open mic. Like, there's certain things that you can do that will definitely help you toward your goal, and certain things that are just be completely irrelevant toward that. So, and the last thing, which I think is probably the most important, is time bound. Having a certain deadline for these goals that you're achieving, so that you can then reassess and look back and see if you achieve them. So, using the show's example, let's say your goal was to play a show every week, and the time limit or the deadline for this was going to be, let's do that for 2 months and then reassess what's happening. So at the end of 2 months, maybe the first show nobody came, maybe the last show you had 8 people come, and there was more people coming throughout, who knows. But you need to have a specific chunk of time in which you can measure the things that you're doing within. And also, what is your measurable goal for becoming U2 status famous musician? Is it 10 years, which is probably realistic? Is it 20 years? Is it like 30 years? Is it 5 years? Is it a year? Like, what are you doing within those time periods to set up the things that you want to get done? And how can you measure them? How are they specific enough, measurable enough, achievable enough, relevant, and also within a certain amount of time? Because you could say, again, okay, for 6 months we're going to play a show every week. We're going to play within 100 miles of our city, or we're going to play these venues in the city. And at the end of 6 months, we're going to assess whether or not we even did that, and also what doing that got us toward our goal. Because hopefully, and a large part of this is having the goals and the SMART goals being in a short enough time that you can assess them and reassess like what they're doing for your brand, for your business. In my example with the podcast is, I'm coming up on, I think this is episode 24, come in 26 will be 6 months anniversary of doing a podcast a week. So at that point, I'm already in the point of reassessing: is the podcast worth my time? What have I achieved from it? Has it grown? Has it grown my audience? Are people responding to it? Are people engaging with it? All this kind of stuff. Like, I guess, like I said, my whole goal for the podcast is just so that I have some diversification. I always say this: if YouTube disappeared tomorrow, I don't want to not have another outlet for me to do some sort of creative thing, because I enjoy doing this. At the same time, it does take a lot of time to do podcasts, to do the channel. And I think 6 months is a pretty good indicator, a pretty good span of time to assess some sort of project that I'm personally working on with the channel, with the YouTube channel, 44 Recording. Every year is so far. I mean, I started May 5th is technically when I started uploading a video every week. So May 5th, 2016, I think. So May 5th, 2017, I reassessed and said, I told myself, I'm going to try this for a year and just have fun and do it and see what happens. May 5th came around, 2017. I said, this is really fun. It's like getting my music out there, getting my message out there. I'm helping all these people. I'm getting so many responses from people saying, how much I've inspired them to complete something, or help them along, or give them a technique to get what they want to do. Like, that's the end goal. Like, that's what I've always wanted to do. So yeah, okay. So I said, all right, I'll re-up it again. And then I said May 5th, I'm totally off on the dates. May 5th, 2017, and then May 5th, 2018 was the year anniversary of me uploading once a week. So then in May 5th, 2019, that's when I'm going to reassess again and say, well, okay, I did this channel for 2 years, basically. And I uploaded a few videos before May 5th, but when I really sat down and said, oh, let me try this, and gave it a real consistent try, like I said, like 2 years in, I'm going to reassess it again and say, is this worth what I'm doing? Is it reaching more people? Is there more, whatever? Is it growing, in terms of the message getting out there? Am I still having fun, etc.? So I think that's a good way for that, and a good contract to have with yourself. Because I just really feel like certain projects take a good amount of time to really see what they are developing as, and sometimes when you're too close to the center, you can't really see what's going on in the whole picture. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. And then also another experiment I've been running on the channel, whether you've realized this or not, if you're new to the podcast, I have a channel, or if you're new to the channel, I have this podcast. And another experiment I've been running is doing a video every weekday, whether that's the live stream with Jay on Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, or usually I'm trying to get a video Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I have 5 days worth of videos each week, and people can watch those throughout the week or on the weekend, or whenever it makes sense. And also within this is that YouTube has a ton of analytics to see like which videos are working, which ones are having a positive response to people, which ones aren't. And I've been doing this for maybe a month and a week, or a month and a couple weeks, doing this like 5 videos a week thing. And so far the results have been amazing, like in terms of getting the message out there, getting more people interested in the channel, getting more people, getting my stuff and content and music in front of more people, and just trying out new formats, like doing this podcast video, doing the 3 p.m. Friday video, which is usually a recording based video. Monday, Tuesday, I try to do like a news type video now. So that's kind of like and then Wednesday's the live stream, and just trying to branch out into a couple different spheres of music and not just getting pigeonholed into 4-tracking, which obviously I enjoy. And got some new ideas and new videos coming out with that stuff, but there's a certain audience for that, and there's a certain audience for other music topics and just lo-fi stuff in general, and recording and instruments and pedals and doing all sorts of little things here and there, and the digitact, and basically the stuff I'm interested in, trying to make it a cohesive sort of experience. And, the podcast is something along with that. Thursdays, I put the video out for that. So, which is what you're watching now if you've gotten this far. So, but what I'm saying is, so that's an experiment I'm running right now. It's a SMART goal. So it's specific in that I'm putting out a video every day, either 3 p.m. Eastern or the live stream. It's measurable in that I can literally see if I'm putting out the video. It's achievable because I've gotten pretty quick at doing this stuff. I have a setup. I know how to do what I want to do with it. So it's it's relevant because it's something I'm currently working on, and it's a big part of what I'm trying to do with my creative outlet. And it's time bound in that. And by 2019 January, I can say, okay, I did this for 2 months. What happened? Is it worth doing? Am I still having fun with it? Is it burning me out? Is it relevant to what I'm doing? Relevant to what I want to achieve? So I don't know. So SMART goals, I think, are super important. You can't just set out with a huge goal in mind without breaking it down into smaller pieces that you can actually achieve. And also, I'm just checking the time here, and also because I think you could spin your wheels for years, like essentially what I did, not really realizing that I wasn't really achieving anything other than getting better at the craft of what I wanted to do, which was amazing and was important to do. And now I have the skill set that I can use to make this channel and talk about the things I talk about on here, and have those experiences and relate those to other people, and hopefully save somebody listening to this time and, like I said, heartache. And by putting out these pieces of wisdom, I suppose, or knowledge to look, like, try, and if you're going to have these goals, like, at least try to be smart about them. And that's with the acronym and also without it. Like, there's certain things you can do for the things that you want to achieve, that will really help you, and there's other things that will not help you at all. And I think it's really important to recognize those and set out with some kind of plan. And I've always been really bad at planning, scheduling things. I've gotten a lot better with doing the channel, and that's really helped me in that regard as well. But yeah, I think if you're listening to this and you have very specific goals or long-term goals, short-term goals, definitely think about this SMART goal idea, in terms of what you're doing and trying to achieve. I think it'll really help you. It's really helped me with the things I'm trying to achieve, and it really helps you decide what it is you actually want to achieve as well, which is important. Because, and now, I mean, because I feel like some people will say, well, why are you telling people to have this, like, strict goal-oriented program in order to do things? And that's cool. Like, hey, if you want to just do the things you're doing for fun, and that's truly what you want to do, then awesome. If you want to grow, for me, I want to grow my influence and grow my brand and grow my business, grow my creative outlet, all these things. It's like, those are all things I want to do. And without a smart plan for that, without a goal as to the types of things that I'm going to do that will help me there, the types of things I'm going to do that are just going to waste my time, like, those are things that are important to me. And I don't know. I think if your goal is to just have fun, then just go out there and have fun and don't think about it too much. But if your goal is to do something a little bit more with what you want to do, whether that's just put out something on some kind of schedule, or become a bigger known band in your area, or I don't know, become a better cook or something, like, you can do that by having these SMART goals that are broken down and achievable, and something that you can look back and reassess and continue to pivot. Because that was something I was always really bad at, was assessing what I was doing and pivoting from that. And it's something I've gotten better at now, but it's also taken me over a decade of spinning my wheels and, being lazy in some respects, and just, I don't know, not understanding how certain things worked, and, having feelings of stardom and wanting to do something, or, be something, but not doing anything to act on those. Yeah, you're fucked. Like, you're just gonna be stuck. Like, it's not gonna get anywhere. And if that's what your goal is, everybody's goals are different, but, for me and the things I want to do, like, again, the solo podcasts, at first I was like, oh, I don't know if these make any sense, but one thing I really want to do is come up with some kind of book, whether that's an ebook, a hardcover book, paperback, that's going to have like these type of things I'm talking about in regards to creativity and achieving your creative goals, right? So for me, the podcast is also an outlet for that and an outlet to say, well, if I do one of these episodes a week, in some regard, I could make this into some sort of chapter or some sort of part in a book. And, that's very specific to my goals. It's very measurable. As long as I come in and do one of these every week or every other week, it's achievable, it's relevant to what I want to do, and it's time bound. So, you know, if I can look back on the podcast in a year and say, oh, well, now I have basically written a book between interviewing people about this and talking about the tactics and things that are on my mind and, you know, things I use to achieve my own goals or things I feel about and the way that I'm, question the things I'm doing. Like, I think it's all great fodder and some of it might not make it, some of it will, but the point is it's a very smart goal in terms of I can come here and set this up for 20 minutes, a half hour if I can't get somebody to interview, and I can just boom, come up with some sort of relevant chapter. Or I mean, even if I don't write a book, right? Even if I don't even do that, the fact is I'm generating another place for me to have a creative outlet to talk about the things I want to talk about the things that I wish I could find other people talking about more, putting that out into the world, hopefully finding more people that feel that way, and driving the conversation and driving my inspiration to continue to do the things I'm doing, and then also just generate the Thursday video for my channel, and maybe come out with a book at some point. Even if it's a small book or an ebook or something like. That's something I want to do. That's a goal of mine. Whether that's 2019, probably 2019 because this is November already. End of November 2018. If you're listening to this in the future. So yeah, who knows? Maybe if you're listening to this in the future, it's 2019, 2020. Maybe you're listening to this because you read the book that I wrote based on this podcast and the things I came up with in the podcast and talked to people about in the podcast. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, SMART goals. Make sure that those goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And I think that you will find your goals becoming clearer and clearer by the day, and hopefully you'll be moving up that staircase of starting at the bottom and your goal being at the top. All right, we'll catch you on the flip flop, folks. Thanks for listening.